Hi there, I'm Dani, spiritualtherapist.com, and today it is January the 25th, 2022, and I have a new friend to bring into the playing game of life. His name is Jeff, and he is known as the Tattooed Spirit. Hello, Jeff, good afternoon and welcome.
I'm absolutely thrilled to be here, Dani. It's so nice to see you in person as far as this goes. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Of course, you're welcome. I've been looking at your videos online. It's just such a wonderful melee of many different videos on tarot readings, what the individual cards mean. And a lot of people are really finding out more about themselves as spiritual beings. People are looking for tools to help themselves discern the crazy in this world right now. It's very apparent in this world right now that no matter what you do, say, or be, whether you're online or you're offline or you're in the public eye or not, that each individual human has an honor to themselves to really go within, you know, to listen and learn of what people put out, but really feel into their own heart, mind, and souls. What say you to that?
Well, what I can certainly tell you over the past couple of decades that I've been working with the cards is that over the past 3 years alone, the move towards self-empowerment has been astronomical. And that's always, I mean, that's something that I was fighting for, Dani, for years, was to get people to look at using really the love and wisdom of the tarot for self-empowerment, to really, you know, ask the kind of questions that are like, where am I headed? You know, what am I doing that's getting me to a particular place? And get people away from these questions that you would ask someone in a neon lit psychic sign, you know, like, what's going to happen to me? And I love that it's catching on. And I think that's quite frankly due to the times that we're in, the increased frequencies, this awakening process where people are moving away from that very disempowered position with thinking about tarot as a divination or fortune telling tool, because it is really good at that sort of stuff, but more like, how am I contributing to my life? And that's happening naturally. I've been singing the praises of tarot for an empowering tool since 1997, when I really sort of captured it for myself. And it seems as if, Dad, it just seems as if the entire world is now finally cooperating with me to sort of get the message across about, like, we're not looking for answers in that way of what's going to happen to me. You know, is this going to work out? Am I going to get that job? Will I have a kid? People naturally are asking these questions that, like I already said a couple of times, you're going to find out I tend to ramble, Dani, and everyone else. So
I love it.
Feel free to stop that now and again. But I just think it's the natural course of the awakening ascension process where people want to know, they're starting to get that idea that they are in control of certain things in their life.
Yes.
And with tarot, it's very clear. There are certain cards, 7 in particular, those 7 cards, because hopefully we'll talk about how the deck is arranged, because I want to pique an interest for people who are like me. I don't consider myself psychic, but the cards are amazing. They seem mystical and magical, but working with the mind, a psychologist, and as a hypnotherapist like I am, well, with psychology training, I mean, and a hypnotherapist that I am, you find that all these cards are representing as different aspects of your own consciousness. And it's just what's coming to you, turns out, people are finding out, is more of a choice than a victimhood. You know, how's this going to end, and all this and all that sort of stuff. So the natural trend is very inspiring. And I'm hearing that, by the way, from just conversations with people that I'm just meeting, because I just moved to South Carolina after spending 26 years, I think, in Southern California. And it's just, people just want fairness, and people aren't talking. You'd be surprised, but I think people aren't talking about politics as much as they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They're talking about what is right. They're talking about good and bad, right and wrong, evils, angels, demons, light and dark, a galactic battle, cosmology, astrology, like, you know, and there's all these different, oh my God, aspects of absolutely everything that I love. You know what I mean? I love the Edgar Casey material. Of course, the Canon stuff is fantastic. I actually wrote some of that. Of course, the Law of One material is brilliant. Tarot describes certainly the law of attraction that got kind of bastardized a little bit by everyone trying to turn it into I want materialism and things. That kind of got subverted, I kind of felt, and took away the magic aspect of we're in control of our lives, not another car that we can sort of bring into our experience. So that's a bit of a very long introduction. And it's just the beginning of why I love talking about the cards, working with the cards with my clients for tarot consultation, or like neuro-linguistic programming work, or straight up hypnotherapy, guided imagery, because more people are curious about it. They ask me about it. And the way I enjoy teaching it, because I learned it in a way that was empowering, it demystifies the whole thing, because it's a logical system. You know, the tarot deck, the numbers, the major arcana, the minor arcana. No, you don't have to know what this is yet, but hopefully you're going to get curious. It just defines this mass consciousness of the multiverse and how the dramas play out, why they play out, why certain futures are drawn to you because of what you're doing, what you're thinking, what you're feeling. And hopefully we'll get a chance to circle around on this, because I really kind of want to see what you want to know about kind of what I do, because trust me, I can, and I have talked for hours about this stuff without even being asked the question. But the way tarot is set up is to monitor, and so you can identify exactly those things that I just mentioned. And I'm so excited to share it with people who are curious. You know, what you're thinking, what you're feeling, what you're doing, that's going to get you in a particular place. You know, so there's no fortune telling here. It's pattern recognition, right? You're just recognizing patterns, because you're a spiritual therapist too, which, by the way, is why I started watching and now binging, because I don't binge anybody, but I have been binging your stuff, because anyone that puts that banner under their name, spiritual therapist, I'm curious about them. And so I'm just as a throwback to you, I really appreciate how you kind of go about what you do as far as your knowledge towards an effect of empowerment. And so I'm glad I found you, and I'm more than thrilled, maybe too excited, because I tend to talk fast when I get excited, to share how understanding the tarot as far as a spiritual tool for self-development, spiritual development, personal motivations as to why things happen in your life. It's just a lot of fun, and it's unbelievably effective. It's just unbelievably effective.
I'd like to discuss a little bit of the actual history of tarot, so people have more of an in-depth understanding. I love how grounded you are, because a lot of people put us into an area of old spirituality, tarot cards, angel cards, you know, all of that. But as you said, you and I are both qualified therapists. We both studied psychology. We're both neuro-linguistic programmers, which has taken a bit of a bad rap, but it's really a beautiful tool to help people shrink down their own anxiety and trauma, which is also another level of self-empowerment. You mentioned politics. Yes, less people are discussing politics, but it's a fucking boring subject. And I'm tired of all the bloody white men running my planet, all these presidents who've been in charge of countries for 40 years. What the heck's that about? Humanity is at this beautiful tipping point, and we've already tipped over the other side, of really looking at, hang on, who's running my world? Hang on a second, I get to run my world. I get to love my brothers and my sisters on planet, off planet, and in between. So wherever we are on our own individual journeys, for me, the key is not to follow a single person, even a God, a Jesus, a Buddha, or whatever. These beautiful stories, historics, are here for us to really feel into. Some people are very, very happy and grounded in following a set of rules, a regime, whatever, and that's great, each to their own. Now, my first understanding of tarot came a long, long time ago. I went through the whole kind of evangelical Pentecostal gambit or gauntlet, and came out the other side of that a bit whacked in the head. Like anything that was deemed tarot or spiritual was the devil, and I was programmed very hard and very definitively to steer away from anything that would allow me to fall into love, self-development, and questioning. And one of the things I really admire about you is that you come very to the point, that you're not a psychic, a clairvoyant, a clairsentient, a claircognizant. You are Jeff, and you understand the value and the beauty of the tarot, not just from a technical perspective, because obviously we have to learn what each card is, the arcana, the major, the minor arcana, which we're going to get into. And you've got some really beautiful cards there. Now, I do want to say that lately, over the last couple of years in particular, there's this lady, I've watched her several times and I really enjoy her. And she's from Calgary, Alberta, and I lived there for a couple of years and just love the Canadian people and love that area. And she's known as Janine. She's got Tarot by Janine, Sending Ravens is her other channel. And I just love watching that lady when I do look at her stuff. And I love the way that she's so grounded. She's not wishy-washy. She's just right there in the moment, telling what she gets from the cards at large. I think it's lovely to bring in a masculine element of somebody else at this current time, who's also working with the tarot in a different way. So we can kind of bring more valuable information as people are on their journey of self-development and self-empowerment. Could you go into your understanding of the 7 major cards that you pointed to earlier?
Oh, yes. There were a couple questions that I missed, but maybe we'll circle around to those. The major arcana of the deck, those are, you can kind of look at those as 22 particular cards that are just the heavy hitters, you know. And of course, I don't want to make this a class or a course, but just to kind of give you an idea how everything sort of ties together. And in order to answer your question, it'll be best to sort of set it up a little bit, that if you sort of look at these major cards, you sort of take the one card that doesn't really have a number, it's a 0, it's unfortunately named the Fool card. You kind of take that out because it has a special meaning that's not wrapped up into why you journey through these major cards, these other 21 cards. And if you arrange them the way that I was taught to arrange them, it's very, very clear that there's 3 very distinct groups. And the first group, that's cards 1 through 7, and we can take a tour of those later if you'd like, but it's very, very clear that those are all about the worldly influences that affect you in your life, your relationships, your willpower to achieve what you desire to achieve, your imagination, the female aspect of softness and intuition, or the male aspect of groundedness and firmness, and also well, we can talk about specific cards later, but also the idea in that top line, the first 7 cards, there's a card called the Hierophant, which really means belief systems. And that's the belief systems of other people that we're indoctrinated with, challenged with, in all likelihood, in most cases. And because it's a number 5, all 5s have to do with difficulties, life challenges, and losses. So the biggest life challenge in this first row that represents the worldly influences that affect you in your everyday life is the idea of belief systems. This is that powerful 5. Okay, so all 5s in tarot generally, almost always, are life difficulties. And you can see this affecting our world today. People have these belief systems that they've been hypnotized into, and we can talk about hypnosis too. I have a feeling you know a few things about that as well. But it's just, all you know is what you're told.
Yes.
Unless you do.
Oh my God, yes.
Right?
All you know is what you're told. All you know is what you're told. And this again is something I pledge to everybody, please think about that. All you know is what you've been told, or what you're told. And it's time for us to just really discern completely. Yeah. Okay, so you showed us the Fool. By the way, they're really beautiful cards. Can you tell us what deck that is, please?
Well, this is based on the RWS system of imagery, which stands for the Rider-Waite-Smith. And it's called Pam's Vintage. And I just love this deck because it looks antiqued, it looks rusted.
It really does. Show us a little bit more so people can have a look and they can find that deck if they need to. Pam's Vintage Tarot. Right. It's not Pan as in the spirit god Pan. This is Pam, P-A-M, for mother.
Yeah, it's named after Pamela Coleman
Coleman
Smith,
Smith.
who's the artist. You can screenshot that if anyone needs it, if it's still available. I know this was a limited deck, so whatever. There's thousands of decks available, but I think the best deck to use with learning tarot and the imagery is the RWS, the Rider Waite Smith imagery, right? Just because there's so much to it, it's so loaded. So moving on to eventually answering your question, all of those first line, those 7 cards, those represent, like I said, things that affect you in your everyday you being in the world. Now, the second grouping, cards 8 through 14, that's all about internal influences, stuff that just sort of pulls you to like wanted to self-discover a little bit more, want to change who you are, kind of want to, like, why do I tick? Because the first line's all about the world. I want to conquer the world. The 7 cards, the 7th card in the first line is the Chariot, which means victor. All 7s are victory, success, like Vegas, 777 with the slot machine. Anytime you see a 7, you have to think this is a successful card. This is successful control of your worldly influences, which is why that's the 7th card and number 7. The second row is all about, like I said, and this is why tarot is so easy to understand in this spiritual way. It's all about your internal sort of what makes you tick. And in order to start that journey, you got to have that inner strength. That's what this card is. It's named Strength. The title is not on here, but I think that helps beginners as well. And you kind of get into the idea that if you really want to know yourself, you kind of have to become a hermit. And you kind of have to kind of get inside to realize, why do I tick like that? And we'll talk about the Hermit later. And then you move along that line to the other cards that tell you, well, that whenever one door closes, there's a window that's going to open, that there's divine timing that's going to play a part of life. And then smack dab in the middle of this whole grid is this fantastic Justice card. And this just means that, like, you're really gaining self-mastery is what this card means. It's justice. Things are fair. You see things fairly, like that scale. No matter what the good or bad, everything is perhaps. Isn't that terrible? Perhaps. Isn't that awesome? Perhaps. Isn't this, whatever it is. So you realize that there's this fantastic balancing that's happening. Further down the self-exploratory way, to find out why you tick, is this fantastic card. It's called the Hanged Man. It's the most terrible name in the deck, but it's fantastic because this dude is just hanging out in his own truth. He's hanging out right below. It's that beautiful Sun card. You don't know that yet. You do not need to know that. But the beauty of the grid and the tarot is that one card on the top, on the bottom, on the left, they all point to each other. That's why it's this deep communication that I get so excited to talk about. So this dude's not being hung. He's not being lynched. He's just pure and secure in his knowing that that wheel of fortune is turning all the time. Obviously, next we have the Death and the liberation of your past self. Of course, you can translate this in many different ways. I got some great stories about this card. Blow your goddamn face off. They're so good. And then the 7th card of the second line about intrapersonal urges. That's this fantastic 7th card of mastery. And that's what this Temperance angel is doing, is experiencing mastery of the self, because it's the second line. Now, to finally get to your answer of the question, what are those cards that kind of tell you things are out of your control? That's the last line of these majors. And that's not entitled, but that's numbered obviously 15 through 21. And that starts with the idea that in this universal consciousness of the universe, that there has to be this aspect of duality. That's this devil card that really gets a bad rap. And I'm not saying, pro-devil stuff, but you have to have the idea of opposites. If everything was love and all this stuff, you got to have this polarity. And that's what this card brings in. And it's absolutely all within the imagery of the card. And there's a reason why, it resembles other cards so closely. So the idea that there are these shitty things that happen in your life, and there are shitty deep staters, the idea that there are really shitty galactics that are there to just not assist you, and the idea that like life can seem unfair is really just so that those of the people that listen to your channel, Dani, and you and me, the further the magnet polarity is in the negative, then the further the positive, the light bringers, the lovers, it's always an equal balance, which is why now with this separation of, we can kind of see what the hell's going on in the world. How could you not is really the question these days. But there's so much love going on. That's why my focus is to get people how things are working, because there's so much good shit happening. There's so much people sharing love and light and what their passions are in tools like you're doing, interviewing people to share empowering tools. The further we get to the good, that just the natural balance is that we have to be exposed to the stuff that's going on behind the scenes, all these terrible things. We know about the children, we know about the blood, we know about the satanic stuff, we know about the it goes on and on and on.
And I know, and we have to be, unfortunately, I have to behave a bit like a Sunday school teacher, which so goes against the grain of being restricted somewhat in the things that we would normally say in a normal world. But still, sadly, there are some assholes at the top of my planet, your planet, our planet, who are trying to stop love and conversation and sharing everything possible to help our brothers and sisters. You know, B said, I have two strikes on my YouTube channel currently, and of course there's Rumble and there's all the others and stuff. I just don't want to be handled or told, you know, by any one single being or a group what I can and can't do or say. But for this broadcast, we just have to be a bit, because obviously you and I are extremely passionate individuals. We love humanity. We're here to serve. We're here to share everything that we could possibly share with knowledge that is proven to us in our own individual experiences. We're not just sitting here spouting this and spouting that, and you know, nobody has an interest in celebrity or fame or any of that nonsense. It's just purely coming from love and your own education and knowledge from working with the cards for over 25 years, which is wonderful. And on your channel, which is the Tattooed Spirit, there are many videos. There's a wonderful course that you created explaining each individual card in its entirety from your own knowledge base and experience, which is wonderful. Now, you mentioned the Fool being the 0 card, and for us to not worry the name or the title of the Fool and its meanings. So does it go from 0 to 1 or 0 to 2? And what would be the next card after the Fool?
Well, that would depend on how you sort of set up the grid for yourself. But as I would suggest to learn it, is the idea that the Fool is your eternalness. It's your spirit self. It's your soul self. And this is the card that sort of bounces all over the place. And you can tell by the image, there's carefreeness, there's confidence there, there's total faith. There's just knowing that this journey that this Fool is going to go through is the optimism of the Fool. It's the totally positive card. And it's especially interesting to kind of keep in mind that no matter what card comes up in the majors or in the minor cards, that it's the Fool, it's your spirit that's experiencing that particular situation. If we're talking about the minor cards, you know, that environment and that, you know, like I said, in that situation or in that predicament, your soul is gaining information from being there. So anytime you see any card, it really is nice to kind of keep in mind, no matter what shows up, the essence of who you are is the one that is experiencing that, you know. And it's particularly, and most importantly, and probably why this came up in our conversation now, to remember that on that last line, the things that just happen for you, those are those universal influences that we were talking about, that those are directed by this great force of consciousness, or the one infinite creator, or the prime mover. No matter what the hell happens to you, this is not your ego in charge of your desires down here. This is, you know what I mean, your Akash playing out the lessons that you're here to learn. So all of these stages of these last 7 cards that we were talking about, it's really important to remember that it's the experience that your soul is gaining, because you really don't have control. The organizer of all of this, you know what I mean? You can call it whatever you want, or maybe just your soul wanting to experience these things. So it's out of your egos. You know, I just want to be happy, thin, rich, and whatever, you know what I mean? It's all this shit that kind of comes up because you're here to grow. Yeah. You know, yeah. And that's spiritual tarot, I think, at its core, is to know that we're not here to just get what we want. We're here to grow, you know, and, you know, and to learn some hard ass lessons.
Oh my God, absolutely. Nobody gets away with that. You know,
Yeah.
all right. So cards, so the Fool, what would, you know, as we're trying to kind of bring people into kind of more feeling if the tarot is something they would like to explore for themselves. So we've got the Fool. What would be the next card? You said that the first 7 cards. So can you just briefly share the first 7 cards? And then can you explain what is the major arcana and what is the minor arcana? And why do we have the major and the minor arcana?
Okay. The majors are the influences and urges that kind of perk up on our situations. All of the minor arcana, okay, there's a delineation of the two, but I'll just group them, keep them very general. Like I said, I'm trying not to make this like a school. I don't want anyone like to try. You can't learn it like this.
No.
I want to demystify. I just want to demystify.
Yeah.
The minor arcana are just life situations that you find yourself in. These are just ordinary characters like living life, experiencing what that card represents. That's a pretty nice card. You can tell by the imagery. That's a pretty nice card. You can tell by the imagery. Those are all the minor cards. And hopefully that'll make more sense when you understand what the first card is. I think the most powerful card. And that's the idea that using your imagination. This is the Magician card. It's the Magician. And you can tell that why the Magician is the Magician, to be able to create what it wants, you know, minus what its soul has planned for it, is because on his table, he has all of the 4 different suits, all the 4 different suits of the tarot, which is encapsulated in how things are drawn to you, what timeline you're going to get into as far as what is desired or not desired, depending on what you put your attention on. Because we can clearly see that there's a sword on his table, on the Magician's table. The sword represents your thinking. We have free will over our thoughts, right? That's a huge part of this law of attraction, why we end up in a certain place is the thoughts that we tend to think. And then having mastery with the emotions that are caused by the thoughts that you think, that's represented by all the cups and represented in all of these cups cards right here. Okay, that's the emotions. That's the driving power of why our life changes in one direction or the next. Then we have a wand or a staff that's on the table right there. And then that is how you use your actions. What do you do with your everyday life? Like clearly, okay? And whenever you combine those 3, you get the 4th suit, and that's the Suit of Pentacles or coins. I call it coins. I really don't know why, but that is the end result or your state of being after you initiate. What am I thinking about? What am I feeling about that? How does it make me act? That's going to bring you, you're going to find yourself in a particular future, a particular timeline based on that. And that's where this fantastic little chart that I give away, obviously you can cheat on it, is too, how each of the different suits interact with each other. This is also the magic of tarot, Dani, because no matter if you would get a swords card, you can still tell what's happening with that person's action. You can still tell what's happening in that person's emotion. You can still tell, because it's lined up there, what kind of situation that they're in, because you just got a swords card. And I mean, it's really, you know, it's like this person right here. You can kind of tell how this person might be feeling trying to make this choice.
She looks
you know
pretty sad. That poor girl looks pretty sad right now.
Exactly. And you can kind of tell what they're doing, really not doing anything. They're just kind of spending their time in here. And you can kind of, like I said, you can see what they're thinking. They're making a decision because it has to do with 2s, what they're feeling and how they're acting, and their state of being. So you encapsulate all of the 4 different suits with no matter what card that you pull, which is why you don't have to particularly pull a swords card to find out what someone's thinking. You can pull another card, and because those triangles cross, then the magic of the tarot says with any card, they all have something to do with the other things. You know, you pick a wands card, it crosses there. So you can pick any wands card at all and know exactly what that dude is doing. He's trying to make a decision. He's feeling, you can infer what he's feeling from there. And so the magic of the tarot and how it can speak to you on many different levels is almost inherent in the imagery and the numbers, the numerology. It goes into elements too. Every card has an, but that's too much.
I do respect very greatly that the tarot is nothing that we're going to be able to explain and teach in a 1-hour broadcast. I do respect
No.
that, but it's just so beautiful to bring elements in to help people maybe have a deeper understanding, because you know your role right here today is to really share your passion and your love for the tarot and why. So I want to ask you a question. The lady with the swords that looks very sad and blindfold, the image there, there's a half moon or a crescent moon that I noticed. So I would love to ask you, in relation to an individual card, does the sun and the moon have a significant meaning, like that example? And if you could explain in brief, what might that potentially be? I know with other cards, it tells a bigger story. I think most people watching this know that. And not that we ever assume anything or want to treat people like complete imbeciles, because I do not know much about the tarot at all, and I don't pretend to. So this is absolutely fascinating for me. So please explain, what is a crescent moon, for example, symbol doing in a card, and what might that relate to?
Fantastic. A moon sort of thing is the mystery of the moon, you know? So it infers a lot of need for intuition. The first time we see the moon is in this fantastic High Priestess card. It's the biggest part. She has 3 different phases on her crown, on her throne. And so you sort of read in to what's sort of happening with this card. Once you see, you know, like my video on it, the idea that there's a great sense of intuition on this card. A lot of decks actually rename the High Priestess Intuition, because she's looking straight ahead, but the most valuable information is behind her. Water means the unconscious, it means hidden knowledge. And so that veil is up, but she can use that moon mystery or intuition to sort of discover the right way to go. So that could infer, if your subconscious takes you there, that this advice for this card would be, don't look at data, don't look at statistics, don't do your pros and cons lists, but just really pay attention to your intuition for that crescent moon. That's the inherent advice for that card. And there's tons of rabbits. There's actually a card called the Moon. And again, this is about starting up after you sort of installed. This has a lot to do with getting over fears. That's sort of that. There's a crayfish down there that generally is interpreted as just fear. So you're kind of getting back into the world after having been installed. And so that idea of the mystery of the moon is not something that can be found outside of you. It infers you have to dig within yourself for that particular card. And I think it's perfect. It's a perfect visual imagery for this card of having to make a choice, because there's no information literal. You have to infer it, you have to think about it and feel it, you know. So that's how that works. That's how it works. And thank you for mentioning, by the way, that playlist on my YouTube channel. It was a great joy to put that together. And that really is the best way to get the first steps of understanding, not how I'm presenting it here, because there's too much to present, but just how there's nothing mysterious about this. I can't state that enough, that you will seem psychic, you will seem intuitive, you probably are, we all are, but to understand logically and structurally how the deck is set up, as we do in the playlist and this associated masterclass, it gets so easy to just feel empowered about, I have a question about something. Right. I cannot state that enough. So anyway, yeah, so that was that little.
I do want to say, I want to make a very valid and important point here, that there are people that do live tarot. You know, I worked on television years ago, and we watch people now in this day and age who are very clearly intuitive. They are so tapped in. There are some that you see them go inside and they're connecting, as well as using the cards to guide them in a spread of conversation. So I don't want to take any of that beauty away. But for you as an individual, Jeff, you know, the tattooed spirit, which is your brand, you know, your kind of handle, your name, you are expressing that for you, you do not see yourself as a psychic, a clairvoyant. And so in doing that, coming from that point, you're allowing people to think that, well, I'm not psychic, I'm not. They don't need to be. They can play with those cards. They can have an understanding that might benefit them in their lives. I just want to make that very clear, that I'm not taking away anything from anybody, you know, because for me, like, I use in some of my readings, you know, the goddess, because they're just so positive. They're so lovely. I love these cards, and I've been using them for over 25 years myself, you know. And so we use different things for different people, for ourselves as well, for love, for enjoyment, for personal development. And I don't want to take our attention off of the major arcana and the minor arcana, because we're doing such a beautiful job of, you know, kind of breaking it down and just giving a synopsis, because of course we need 10 hours to explain some of the questions I've asked you, sorry. But let's talk about quickly your playlist. Can you please give us understanding of what your playlist, I know, but we would love everybody watching this broadcast to know, what is the Tattooed Spirits playlist on his channel?
Right. There's a few different playlists on my channel, but the one that I would like to direct people to is the free playlist, where I go through each of the 78 cards to demystify why these images are not somehow, you know, coming from out of the blue. They make sense when you understand the numbers. They make sense whenever you understand the elements that they represent. They make sense whenever you see the pictures, and understanding just those three basic things, just by looking at the interpretations of the cards. I'm hoping you'll get curious as to how to do more kind of readings with the cards. The meanings are the most fun to learn, but it really, honestly, it only gets more fun whenever you begin to read knowing these meanings. And that's called the Master the Tarot playlist on my YouTube channel, Master the Tarot playlist. And it's nice to go in order, because there is an order to it. It's nice to have your own RWS deck, so you can pick them up yourself and look at them and kind of compare them to, you know, what I'm holding up to you. You'll find that time goes really fast. It's really nice to be able to stop and rewind, but it's so straightforward whenever you can put your structure, put it like a logical structure around it, so that whenever it comes time to read or however you want to use these cards, you understand consciously what the card means, and then you can get out of your way and have fun. That's where the intuition, that's how whenever you mention people just sort of close their eyes and they kind of go, that happens naturally, because you use your conscious mind to understand what the meaning is. And then all of a sudden you're drawn to, why am I drawn to the wings of that card? And then you begin to close your eyes, and then this mystery, what is mysterious about it, unfolds, you know? And I'm also trying to get people off of just reading up a book, you know what I mean? Because those books generally absolutely really stink. All, you know, as far as they generally stink. So,
well, you know, let's talk about for a minute, like, let me just show these cards again, the ones I use. So it's really, really easy. And they're beautiful. Like, you know, we've all done different work, but I've got such a habit of grabbing them and like tapping off the energy, just because of the different ways that people tend to use them. But if you just, I don't know, just a quick shuffle, but any card that anyone in the world, you know, will pull, just see the first one here. And this is Kuan Yin, this is the card of compassion, right? And now anyone can read what the words say. It says, release judgments about yourself and others, focus on love and light that is within everyone. That's beautiful. Now, when I'm doing a reading, and this card might come up, I always, without exception, because there's always more than one that gets played, I say to people, choose, if I'm online, which I mostly am these days, pick 3, 5 or 7 off the top after they've shuffled. I've shuffled and they tell me when to stop. So it's all about them. They're in complete control. They choose the deck, they choose when the shuffling stops, they choose the number, right? But so we can all just read. But what I do is I take a breath into the card and out again. And I ask, how does this relate to the person in front of me? How can it best serve them? And the one thing I am blown away with all of the time is that I'll look at a card I've been looking at for 25 years, and I might see something different that I've never noticed. And I totally trust that. Yeah. Go ahead. What say you to that?
That's when people begin to seem psychic, and maybe they are, maybe that switch goes on, but that intuition is exactly the mystery of how this high priestess energy creeps into all of it. You can read it, and then all of a sudden you're like, no, there's something so much more to this.
Yeah.
I've seen these same cards for forever. I've had the same deck. This isn't the deck I've been showing you. It's the same deck. It's my favorite deck. I've had it for 25 years. And it's like, every time a reading, it doesn't matter what card comes up, you read it differently, but you keep within the restraints of what the card says.
Yeah.
And then you start going off. You start going off, people are like, holy, what the, how, what? And you're like, I don't know, because you got out of the way consciously, you open up to your subconscious mind, and it's just, you constantly shock yourself. I'm so glad that you had that experience, is because oracle decks are so powerful. Some people think they're not as meaningful or not as complex as tarot, and structurally maybe they're not, but it allows you to get into that spot of intuition and opening up and guidance wherever it comes from, your spirit or the universe or Kuan Yin directly perhaps. But I'm so glad that you shared that, because that's a whole nother aspect, that any oracle deck can open you up the same way. And to be able to share an oracle deck with any tarot card and meld those two together, forget about it. Great tarot card readers will blend an oracle deck with any tarot deck, and you're off to the freaking races as far as the best conversations, the best guidance, support, wisdom, love. And it's just like, these are just two cards I've seen every single day for a decade. And now all of a sudden, someone's feeling better about some amazing advice that they never considered. I'm so glad that, like, the best share, that's the best share you had. That was really awesome. I'm so glad you brought up oracle decks. It's a fantastic way to get started. It really is.
I think it's important that we take off the dominant lie. To me, Dani Henderson, to me, this is a lie. This lie that, ooh, the tarot is evil. Ooh, the goddess cards are evil. Like, stop it already. Because you and I both know, in the very beginning of time in memoriam, once we'd gone past writing hieroglyphs and writing on stones and starting to record before papyrus came in to existence, that tarot existed as a means to educate the people, because the people back in the day, thousands of years ago, weren't given the right to learn how to write. They would sign their name with an X if they were lucky to even do that, because the hierarchical powers have always been the same. They've always wanted to keep the power away from the everyday person. Let's not let the people on the planet be empowered, understand all the mysteries. That's why we've had Greek and Egyptian mystery schools, and beforehand, Sumerian, Babylonian, all again, his story, history has been rewritten. And like, you've only got to go to Egypt, for example. When I went to the temples of Egypt, Karnak, for example, I'm walking around and I knew that if I went there, which I did, I would hire a local Egyptian guide, knowing that they are the best educated. A lot of them have come from a lineage, an Egyptian hierarchical lineage. They're the ones that are going to tell you the real juicy stuff. And so, and it was so amazing walking around, and we've been told, in the white world, and I can say that because I'm white, and if anyone takes offense, that's not my issue, it's yours, because I'm not, I'm white, and learning about the Romans, the bloody Romans, and the Christians coming along, ooh, let's have a number one, religion on the world. And that happened with Akhenaten in historical terms, and his wife Nefertari, who were the parents of, it is said, Tutankhamun. So what we're told is that Akhenaten, for example, wanted to take away all the different worships, all the different supposed idolatrous symbols of worship and religion, and he wanted to kind of amalgamate all the religions into one symbol. So we have the element of Ra, the sun god, and Akhenaten did, whatever he could do to kind of, enforce that thinking. And so we've got all of this wonderful magical experience and really rich history, herstory, all these different civilizations. And then we have this beautiful tarot that it really amalgamates so much of the ancient histories. And then just a bit more on Egypt. My learning and study of, Egypt and Rome before I actually got there, because I've been to both places. You live in England, Rome's like an hour and a half away, jump on a plane, Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, and you're there. It's brilliant. But I was told, well, the Romans came along to all the Egyptian temples and they would like chisel the noses off and try and take away some of the hieroglyphs to divert everyone then in that time to Christianity because they were enforcing globally Christianity, Jesus, and this is that, and there's nothing wrong with that, not knocking Jesus, love the bloke personally, I'm just not religious. But anyway, what I came to understand was it wasn't just the Romans that came in and like sacrificed and just murdered and took away the beautiful chiseled stone masonry from the ancients. It was a case of what we see in modern day times. So I've watched all these, I'm sorry, my own personal opinion, the utter buffoonery of the presidents and the prime ministers who come into power and they sit down and they sit there and they, let's take America, for example, because I lived there for a long time. Their verbiage is executive orders. And the new president comes in and they're sitting there and they've got all their mates in the background and they're signing executive orders. And what they're doing in essence is deleting the history and the inputs of the president before them. Now, this has been going on for millennia. In Egyptology, myth and legend, Greek mythology, we have had, let's stay with Egypt, I want to get too off tangent here. Each Egyptian pharaoh, which is the word for king or queen, obviously Cleopatra was the very last pharaoh of Egypt, as we know, and there were lots of Cleopatras, and she was from the Greek, the Ptolemy family. Can you imagine? Oh God, I've got to stop. I'm going too far off in the tangent. No, I am though. I just forgot we were recording actually for a minute. To be honest with you, that happens all the time, all the flipping time. I just get so excited. There's so much to share. There's so much to just give and gift, and around the beautiful history and culture. Can you hear me okay? Of our past cultures and our past heritage. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so let me go back to the deletion of the pharaohs, males and females. And I'm just going to say that for the last 300 years of Egyptian intel that we have, it is said that the Greeks from Macedonia, Alexander the Great, who came and created Alexandria, the last 300 years of the Egyptian pharaohs was in the main the Greeks. So imagine you're Egyptian, you've been there forever. Some bloody Greek bloke comes along and just takes over. Now everyone's got to learn Greek from Egyptian. The mystery schools are taken over. But my point is the same. Each pharaoh that came into power would have an agenda to disregard and disrespect the pharaoh before them. They wanted to come in and make their mark. They might take over an existing temple from that pharaoh that had been built or was being built before the pharaoh was taken down. They might extend it, or they might knock it down, and they might start their own temple of power. You know, one of the greatest pharaohs that I find fascinating was this woman called Hatshepsut. And Hatshepsut came to power because her husband died, and so her little boy, stepson, who was about 9, was going to be the then pharaoh. But as she was the elder, she took over, and she ruled, man, with an iron fist. And she's also garnered with the understanding or the privilege or presence of being the first pharaoh to bring into the realm an actual obelisk, a column that is square to the top and has a point on the end and has lots and lots of hieroglyphs, pictographs, whatever you wish to call them. And we see an obelisk in Washington in America, DC. We see one in London, England, that's called the Monument. We see one in Rome, you know, so bizarre. Why is Egyptian mythology and structure around the planet? Well, that's a whole other topic that gets into the, that gets into an area that people are pooing their pants about right now if you speak about, but anyway, boring. Yeah. But anyway, going back to the delineation, the deletion, everyone that comes into power from the beginning of time in memoriam where we've been recording wants to make their own mark on everything. What I love now in 2022, we have these ancient tools, we have this ancient insight, and now more and more people are learning about the tarot. So in your opinion, where did it originate from? And why is it even in existence, the tarot deck? Good. You had asked that earlier. I was so hoping we were going to circle back around that, especially because you just were talking about Egypt. I have a fascination with Egypt, and I don't know why. I've never explored a past life experience with it. I don't know. But anytime I see the imagery of it, anytime I see hieroglyphs or just, you know, all that whole thing, I love.
you can pick up 5 books and get 5 different kind of definitions about the origins of tarot, and respect all of them. That's fine. They may all be right in their own regard. But what I clicked with the origins of tarot for me was with the law of one material, with the Egyptian hieroglyphs there, the law of one. What Ra states is just the name of a like a collective, like a collective consciousness, I suppose. Is that they originated the tarot in Egypt at the time where they came down and were mistakenly viewed and uplifted as gods. Are you really hot there?
Sorry,
I can see you.
So hot in Costa Rica. Oh my God,
I'm dying. I'm seeing you. I'm seeing you shoot it.
I don't care.
You poor angel.
Listen to this. This is how. Listen. You know when you're a kid. You know when you're a kid and you talk like an alien. Listen to this. I am an alien.
I know, 100%. Who didn't do that?
Snipping it. I don't care. I don't care how
No.
many people see this. I love you all, but oh my God, I'm hot. I really want to get this broadcast out with this lovely man who's got so much information on the tarot.
Well, listen, we can connect at any time in the future.
No,
believe that.
No, sorry. I'm done. I'm cool enough. You know, come on, we're in the moment. Let's just be real. Look at my hair now, whatever.
Okay.
Okay, continue, please, darling. Continue.
Okay. No, I totally get it because I'm seeing you suffering on the other end. I'm almost feeling bad because I'm so comfortable on my end. I'm
Well,
like,
you know, the great thing is, though, it's as frigging hot as it is here in the jungle, and I don't have AC, but the fan normally does it. But it's getting hotter and hotter, even though it's getting colder for some people. Sorry about that, but it's really hot here. Is that when this goes up on like BoobTube, wherever I put it, I don't put a filter on. I'm just like raw. This is me. I've got a light in my face. I've got a clue what I'm doing. But there always seems to be, I don't think I'll look as red, or I might. I mean, whatever, who cares? But anyway, continue. Continue.
No. Well, I mean, by the way, I love that you just hit record and you hit stop, because all my videos, if you go to my YouTube channel, it's record and stop. There's none of these graphical things. I don't know how people even have or want to desire to do that. I'm really excited to just hit record and hit stop. So again, major props for just being real. Not that that other shit's not real.
No, and I admire them. I'm like, God, I wish I could do that. Yeah, so admire them. Yeah.
I do. But Ra states in their book 5 that they initiated the imagery of tarot. It's not this imagery. I don't know what that deck was. There are Egyptian decks out there, but after reading all these other books about the origins of tarot in French and all the royalty, it stuck with me because they said that the major cards, the heavy hitter cards, were designed to represent the body, the mind, and the spirit of the individual journey, of the individual soul's journey. And when I heard that, it clicked in with what I learned about the body is the worldly influences. That's you in the world, your physical body. How they said the mind for the second line, how I defined the second line, like we talked about, that's the mind. The second line is the mind that Ra talked about. And that's what I said. It's all about the intrapersonal. How am I using my mind? How am I, it's your internal stuff, is your mind, your own mind. And then the spirit is what I talked about as far as being those universal influences, your spiritual self, your expanded self, your collective self with all the others, aligning everyone up, signing up all these different timelines to be an organization to help everyone. For me, that's where I feel it resonates with me, where the tarot originated is the Ra group. And I don't think it's any accident. And I'd love to know the timing about, although I don't know how that Etnaten, I think you said, let's take all these, let's take all these different ones and make it one, we'll make it one. You always hear that Ra sun god, that sun disk, as some sort of association with that one thing. And I think that may have the shadows of how the Egyptian people had these, space beings, our galactic brothers and sisters, come down as these raw beings in Egypt and, kind of do what humans do. You know what I mean? Idolize the messengers of love and wisdom and compassion and unity and turn them into gods. And so I kind of wonder, I'm curious if anyone below would comment if they have heard of a connection between Ra and the actual sun disk that people, say Ra.
Well, that's how the Egyptian god Ra is depicted, as a disk, as a sun. And then as more and more people have tried to understand through history what this might actually mean, a lot have alluded to the off-planet brothers, galactic brothers and sisters. But then, of course, it was very organic and it was very natural, normal for all the civilizations of Earth to be connected to a benevolent being. And then what has been tried to be deleted off the planet, but clearly failed, of course, because the truth will always come to the fore, no matter what the civilization is. There are pyramids across the entire planet. The pyramids are always built upon what is known as ley lines, L-E-Y or L-A-Y, depending on where you live. The ley lines are the electromagnetic frequency lines that help the planet in her gravitational position in the solar system. People say, how do whales and dolphins find themselves to their migrational ports to get pregnant, to travel, like the gray whales in they end up in Baja, Mexico, because they have followed the ley line, the electromagnetic pull that crosses the planet. Now, I know from, again, background study, and really truly believe, having spoken to so many people over the years, because it all comes together so beautifully. Like, I didn't know we were going to go off here, but of course we will, because the tarot is an ancient tool that has been so beautiful and useful for thousands of years. And then what we're doing is dropping in the historics and the different civilizations that came to create, use, now going back to the law of one. The law of one is information that a lot of people are talking about online at the moment, and that's lovely. Now, you mentioned that it's from a person, a being, a consciousness known as Ra, R-A. And I
That's
suppose,
like a group collective that came down.
Yeah.
They came, to assist the Egyptians at the time.
Yeah, so people might have confusion because nobody actually truly knows 100%. We think we do, we think we know this and that. We all know something of something of something, but that's part of the journey of our lives. I think bringing it all together and not criticizing and not judging, just encompassing and loving and just, embracing all these different mind thoughts, all these different beliefs that people have. But yeah, so back to Ra, the law of one, is that the same sun god that Akhenaten, his wife Nefertiti, I said Nefertari, sorry. Nefertari was the wife of Ramses the Great. And then Nefertiti is the wife of Akhenaten, who is reportedly the mother and father of Tutankhamun. So that's the separation. I remember going to Egypt and going to look around an alabaster. They make beautiful things out of alabaster. Coming outside and this man saying, look at this. And it was a beautiful piece of alabaster with gorgeous colored drawings on it of Queen Nefertari, who was connected to Ramses the Great, who's in the Bible. Queen Nefertari was Ramses. And then Nefertiti, who was Akhenaten, father of Tutankhamun. And these two women were really across Egypt, and it was confirmed while I was there, really thought of as the most beautiful women, of the day. They were at different time periods, but of the day. And this man's like, isn't this lovely? Put it in my hand, and then really physically, forcibly made me buy it. They were buggers out there, I tell you. You've got to be careful with the people like when you go to see some stupid girl going, oh, that's amazing. And the next thing they're like, give me your money. I'm like, oh, fuck, you are. It was terrible. I was on my own round a corner. I was at the Temple of Karnak, like bimbling along, and I'm feeling all the energies, and I've got my digital camera and I'm taking pictures, and I'm saying to all of the beautiful orbs, there's thousands of orbs. I'm like, okay, I'm going to take a picture, all gather, all these orbs on my camera. Then the next minute I'm like, okay, disappear, because I know you can leave. And there's not one orb. Not one orb. I'm telling you, it's just that
I love that.
It's not the devil. It's just this beautiful cacophony of different elementals and life and spirit and life that's been lived and echoes of the past and energy frequency that we can all, bring to us. God, I could just go off on a tangent on Egypt, but I'm going to stop because I just get so excited. Isn't it so exciting though, talking about the histories we've been taught, but when you actually go somewhere and you find a person who's a actual lineage to the ancient guides of the Egyptian temples, in Luxor, which is where I was, that you find out so much more. It's just mind-blowing. Yeah. Okay, my love, I know, I think people are gonna, we could definitely do another broadcast so we don't like fry people's brains, where we go more into the history of the world, if you like, and how tarot is involved there and how you use tarot and the classes that you teach. And everyone, this man has online classes, and he also does one-to-one sessions. And I'm going to say it, he's single as a Pringle. Yeah.
That's ridiculous. You said you might.
It came up.
You said you might. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
You were like, whatever.
Bring it up if you want. Now it's just awkward. Just kidding.
It's funny. Talking of tools like tarot and the goddess cards and ancient history and hieroglyphs and petrographs and different religions and all the rest of it. This here is, I burn this. I've been sharing my tools to help people. This is resin, but it is frankincense and myrrh. And it smells absolutely amazing.
I knew you were going to say frankincense and myrrh. I knew it. I love that combination. I love the combination of those. Love it.
So let's have a look at, where have we very first heard in the history books about frankincense and myrrh?
In the history books, if you look at the Bible as a historical reference, I would say that. Yeah, for sure. So for me, that's where I heard of it. Only there, other than other,
So when we look at the history and the way that it's been taught to us of Jesus, for example, when the three wise men were following the light in the sky, or the sphere, or the craft, or the holy star of Bethlehem, again, whatever you feel is right for you, because we're allowed to decide what feels right for us without being shot against the wall for not believing what someone tells us. We're told the gifts that the three wise men brought to the infant Christ was in part frankincense and myrrh. And so in my own practice, as a spiritual person and a therapist, for example, I think these ancient tools, it's ancient technology that goes way before the 2000 marker of time that we're told is correct with the Jesus lineage. Way before that, there is evidence and proof and physical DNA evidence of some temples that are uncovered, Pompeii, things that have been frozen in time by a volcanic eruption, where we can still find these ancient ingredients, DNA test them, and they're finding frankincense and myrrh there too, thousands of years before the Christian realm came into play for humanity. So these ancient tools, including the tarot, that we are now at our own decision, delicious excitement to discover, have been around since the beginnings and knockings of time. And it's all a gift, and it's all helpful, and it's all wonderful. And I don't believe any of it is evil. I think the intention behind anything you do really is what creates a dark or a light frequency. What do you think?
I could not agree more with the intention. It's using your imagination for the love of others is what it is. Its intention is imagination. How you use your imagination is how you direct your intention. And you couldn't have said it better. But what I wanted to ask you, because you brought up the frankincense and myrrh, why do you think that those two particular scents are being found as being, ritualistically important all over the world long before 2000 years ago? Like, why those two of all the different ones that you could possibly, make resin from?
I believe that they are used so significantly in ancient times and current times, because when you bring those elements together, those earth elements, they're of the earth. That if you walk into, like, everything is energy, we know that, we're energy, everything around us is energy. So you can walk into a house, for example, and you can instantly get a headache. Why? You get a headache because someone's been arguing and shouting and complaining, or you go near their television set and all they do is watch the negative, miserable, murderous news. And it builds a resonance, and it builds a frequency, and it builds an emotion that comes from the human, that comes from the environment. When you burn, when you let that beautiful fire and smoke of resin, frankincense, myrrh, sage, whatever, come into the air particles, it literally transmutes physically, chemically, using a chemistry mind, it literally transmutes energy there. So you can go into a place that was let's say a mental asylum, which is an old term, a mental hospital, and know that so many of those beloveds that were there were mistreated or really attacked by harmful energies or had schizophrenia or were really, really suffering. That's a really, really kind of dominant example of what you're asking, you know, and the place is emptied out. Now it's being made into apartments, let's say. If somebody has not saged, if somebody has not cleansed consciously with prayer, even bringing a Bible in, you'd be surprised what a Bible can do. I mean, I've seen it with my own eyes on you know, exorcisms or clearances or blessings I've done myself. These ancient tools, frankincense and myrrh, resin, sage, it is proven beyond a doubt that they clear the air that's there. Absolutely. God, there's so many stories I could tell right now, and I'm just trying to calm myself down. I know. Huh?
It really does underscore what you just said about the intention to bring a book, the intention to burn sage. I mean, everything truly is frequency. I mean, that's how you know what timeline you're going to get into, unless we're talking a collective timeline, based on what frequency you're putting out there, you know? And yeah, I mean, intention is everything. Most people kind of get locked up into what you actually do and stuff like that. But I think actions can be misconstrued. But someone's pure intention is really what I think puts the frequency out, puts the vibe out. So it doesn't matter what's being done or what's being said. People lie all the time. They can mislead all the time. But when you're really sort of tapped in and you sort of exercise that intuition bone by working with the tarot or doing whatever you do and stuff, you just feel the offness of someone's intention, because it's a little bit slower than yours. I just think that, I mean, that's a whole conversation. I mean, but that absolutely is so relevant. Of course, everything's relevant to tarot because it's a holographic universe. And I think it's the perfect delineation to find any other part of the hologram is through here. But the idea that frequencies and intentions are really what dictates, your behaviors, you know what I mean? And what turns you on. I think that's a fascinating conversation.
Yeah,
love to have that.
Definitely.
Someday.
Yeah, definitely. It's important for me today in bringing you onto my channel. And I know there's going to be so many other people that invite you onto theirs because you're so fascinating and so full of information and so have a different way of looking at tarot, and you're teaching it. You have masterclasses created and you invite people to have one-to-ones with you. I really, really, I suppose my real loving agenda for this conversation is to not allow the disrespect of an ancient tool that some people say that's the devil, that's evil. It has been used for evil. Let's not say that. The tarot has been used by dark magic, black magic, witches. But again, that's their intention. You could pick up a regular plain deck of cards, which people have also used. You could take the goddess cards and you could set an intention to harm, to reverse the energy of positivity by your intent. So that to me is what it comes down to. So I do believe the tarot is a beautiful gift and a tool when understood, when learnt, and when used in the right way.
I think you brought up a really good point. And I think the best tarot tip on how to find a reader to get started, again, I want to encourage people, it's demystified now. There's a structure to it. It's easy to understand. You can get out of your way once you know a couple things and let your imagination and intuition and unleash your clairvoyance if you want to, whatever you want to do. But what you said was so important is to vet your reader. You should vet your friends anyway.
Yes.
Because it's true. if it's true, and I 100% agree that it is, that your level of consciousness, how frequently, not how frequently, how high you vibe, it dictates your level of perception. It just does. That's why some people aren't perceiving really what's going on right now, because their level of consciousness is, not to the level of someone who's open and willing and curious about the mystery and occult sort of hidden sort of knowledge things. And then obviously, the higher your consciousness goes, the better your perception is. I believe this has been kinesiologically tested by that David R. Hawking from Power versus Force. Everyone should look.
I love that man's work. I love that book.
Best book that has ever been written. If high schoolers had to read that before graduating, we would live in a different world. I mean, that's a whole nother talk, by the way. The power, quantitative analysis of consciousness. So anyway, my point is, because again, I get excited talking to someone
who's read it, right? Who knows?
It's so good. It's so good. So vet your friends, because if all they're seeing is the negative in life, their perception isn't, it's indicating a low level of consciousness. Talk to people who have hope in the future, who understand the tarot, that where we're going is inevitable. Where we're going is gorgeous. This is what Ross says. It's like the chiming of a clock or something like that. It is just a matter of time, space, that space-time can experience all of us being this awakened state. It cannot be stopped. Those are the people that you want to have in your life. Those are the people that you want to date. Those are the people you want to chill out with, or pay for tarot card readings, whatever. I want to teach you to do it yourself with tarot. But just keep in mind, if someone's perceiving the world like it's all bad, you got to question where they are with their level of consciousness. And actually, I'll actually show this book. I think everybody should read the snaps. Pause this on Facebook if you're watching it. There it is. Power versus Force. As you can tell, I don't use this book at all. It's completely falling apart.
David Hawking. Yeah. Just very briefly on David Hawking, guys, what a treasure. David Hawking, not Stephen Hawking, David Hawking. What he did was he did a measurement of what the elements of each emotion is. For example, you can actually measure the element and the vibrancy of the emotion of joy. Joy resonates even higher than love, but it's a state that we cannot maintain all of the time. We blow our adrenals. So the highest frequency that can be maintained is love. The lowest frequencies are anger, depression, rage, fear. And so this book, Power versus Force by David Hawking, gives you a full understanding. It's such a beautiful bibliography, a real kind of study of ancient emotion. Oh my God, or real primitive, primordial to the current moment, emotion of the human being, the human spectrum. I'm so glad you raised that book. God, I love talking about books and ancient history, don't you? It's so flipping fun.
It's just the greatest thing in the world. And what I love about his work is that it's quantifiable. You can quantify the strength of an emotion. You can quantify using kinesiological testing, which if you get the book, you understand what it is. It's basic muscle testing. So you get the right number of how powerful a positive thought is. And you can also look up the emotional guidance scale. You don't have to try to copy this out, but it is online. This is the Tattooed Spirits brand right there. The highest it is love, joy, and all that, appreciation, empowerment. The lowest is fear.
Yeah.
And if people can keep you in fear, they can control you, as we've seen. And use your thoughts, use your swords to affect your emotions, your cups, to raise your frequency, because that's the power of free will, right? I mean, don't even get me going about free will universe here. I mean, we're seeing it. People are choosing to stay in fear by continuing to watch the same stuff.
Yes, because they're lost inside the belief system. They were told this will keep you safe. If you veer out of this, then you're going to be in trouble. So bless them all, and not being patronizing, guys. I've been there myself. I was so frightened as a kid. If I, could acknowledge the angels in my room, the demons in my room, oh my God, I'm going to go to hell. It was all, for me, bullshit. Now, I just want to bring up a really good point. Love that chart that you took the time to make yourself, the emotional chart. Can you hold it up again? I just want to mention something that other people might notice as we're discussing tarot and how it's been so accused and abused. Put it down a little bit. Now, guys, you can see there's clearly a cross there. A lot of people would put that with the cross of Jesus, with Christianity, although the cross goes way back, way before Christianity. That is not the first symbolic symbol we've seen that represents the cross of Jesus. Someone might look at that, especially because it's on black and we're talking about tarot, and go, oh my God, that S stands for you know who will not be. Sounds like Santa, but isn't. You know, someone could look at that and go, well, that's obviously, you know, dark magic, right?
There.
But that is your
It
brand.
stands for tattooed spirit. That's what it stands for. You had an amazing little excerpt. It was a video that you posted not long ago, but you're talking about the number 13.
Yes.
You're talking about the number 13, and people are just like, oh, 13, that's terrible, you know, because death is number 13, and oh, that must be the devil, and all this stuff like this. There's this, I think it's really important that what you did to share amongst your community, that every symbol that we have that was at one time holy and revered has been bastardized. It has been reversed. Its meaning from nefarious forces, you know, like, I used to be really close friends with the priest in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and he changed churches. This is forever ago. And I went to go visit him. And he said, Jeff, let me show you something really crazy. I said, okay, cool. So he took me out to the foyer of the church, or just before you walk in, you know, to the actual where all the pews are. Festival. And he pulls out the big rug there, the festival. And there was a ginormous swastika. And he said, you know what I mean? Because the real deal with the swastika, you know, it represents, you know, the Big Dipper around, you know, Polaris. It's this holy ancient symbol, but it got bastardized. In the number 33, people think automatically, you know, the whole, you know, Club 33, and it's the Illuminati, and it's anytime someone sees an eyeball, they automatically think Illuminati. But it's literally, it just, you know, when I pick up and I see the eyeball, I don't go deep state Illuminati. This is all about consciousness and how the universe is just acting out to consciousness. It's another great book, by the way. But I'm sure people will see other people with either tattoos of the pyramid with the eyeball. And someone gifted me a beautiful necklace and a ring with a little pyramid and the eyeball. I said, well, this is great. This is like the eye of God. This is like his unimind, like the universal mind, like God looking over all of us, or the divine, all of us sharing the same consciousness. So people look at it and they have all of their own programs running. So just to give you massive props for beginning to trickle that out too, to just let people kind of be on their journey, because crosses don't mean what they mean for other people. S's don't mean Satan. It means spirit to me. If you see, you know, it actually is, I am wearing that necklace, I think, in some of my videos on my master class with with the eyeball inside the pyramid. I love Egypt. I love pyramid power. I love the metaphysical science of the sacred geometry of the pyramids. And so I wouldn't want anyone to be swayed away from hearing positive messages by anyone, because they kind of think that what you don't like really empowers them for all the right reasons. So again, big credit for you for just realizing 13 is not a bad number. It's not an evil number.
Not at all. As we know, all of the beauty, all of the powerful symbologies and structures and truths from ancient times largely have been taken over and reversed. Now, you made one very salient point there about let's say there was one time a dictator who took the lives of millions of beautiful people, and let's call him, sounds like, Hitler. And Hitler used a symbol that he took from the ancient Hindus.
Yeah, ancient.
If you go to Kauai, which is one of the Hawaiian islands, I've been there many times, and you go to, there's a beautiful Hindu temple on Kauai. Hi, Sion Swami, love you. Hi, Bodhinatha. Hi, Polani. These beautiful monks live there still, and they brought in stones that were hand chiseled out of beautiful mountains in India. They didn't dynamite them. They were aware of their energetics that could potentially penetrate the stones So the stonemason's hand chiseled them out, brought them from India, and these men are called swamis, holy men, brought them to Kauai, the island of Kauai, and this started before 2000. They hand built the most beautiful temple. It's called the Arabian Temple, and you will see the most iconic, amazing symbology, beautiful. And you will see the, let's call it the Belostica from Hitler, who took, but it's the original way round. And so when we learn things have been inverted on purpose, things have been retracted, reversed, you know, from white to black. That's when we come to more of an understanding about how our beautiful planet and our culture and our histories and our technologies have been reversed and taken. But no more.
But no more.
But no more. Exactly, exactly. My darling, I think we should stop here because we'll just go another 10 hours easily. I do want to invite people though, if you've enjoyed this broadcast between Jeff and I, please let us know. And if you would like more intel, more insight, more of his beautiful knowledge of everything, then just let us know in the comments. Don't do it in the live chat because it goes too fast and we just can't keep up. It's too much to read. So put your comments in the comment section. And if you'd like this single as a Pringle, Jeff.
Okay, that was
Jeff,
was enough.
The tattooed spirit to come back and play, then let's have at it. Let's have at it. Jeff, do you have any final words, my love?
Just remember that we're working with polarities. Focus on the positive side. Know that the negative end of that magnet has to be there for now. That is coming to an end. That's the ascension we didn't get into. Have fun with the tarot. Thank you for checking out my YouTube channel and demystify how it works. It's too easy to get so intuitive. And if you like that playlist or you get started in it, there's so much more to learn about how to take those meanings into actual readings. I welcome you to check out all the links around there about the masterclass, which teaches you how to use those in readings. I get into a lot about the subconscious work, therapeutic guided imagery with the cards, and then you change your subconscious programming. There's so much more in that with just how to use the cards. But as far if anyone just has a little bit of mystery veil taken away about, I'm not psychic, I don't read cards, you'd be shocked. You'd be shocked and surprised at yourself of where your mind goes if you just give yourself an opportunity. That's why I created that free playlist and to teach people. I just love teaching people. So this has been, I have no idea how much time we've been on.
I have not checked. I don't even know.
No,
yeah, I don't care.
Idea.
Don't care either. I just hope people will enjoy you. They'll definitely enjoy you. And I think that we've done a real honor and a real service to, demystifying the darkness that people put on the tarot with no actual grounding or real kind of education. And, you know, your work is beautiful and profound, and your YouTube channel is gorgeous. Your website is great. You're a beautiful soul. And I'm so glad to bring you onto my little channel, my small but mighty channel, because I just have the most amazing people that say yes to interviews. And I thank you for letting me play with you and giving our friends out there the opportunity of really coming to be more aware of you.
Wonderful. I'm just so grateful, and I'm so appreciative for anyone who's lasted this long, anyone who's lasted to listen to me ramble for, 90 minutes. I did a lot of rambling, but I felt like I wanted to share so much. So hopefully a little bit got in, because I could just, like you, talk about your stuff forever. And I don't want to risk, turning people off, because get empowered. That's what Dani's doing. He's telling people to get empowered. I can't think of a better way to get empowered, is to find out what timeline you're headed to. If you don't like it, change it. You're in, not in. It's just the most wonderful thing to feel empowered. And I love that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Jeff, thank you so much, darling. I'll make sure, obviously, all your connections are under the broadcast, which will go out in a couple of hours on YouTube. And thank you so much, my love. And to you lovely lot out there, thank you so much for playing with us. I know that you will have enjoyed so much of the information here, and it really is all about bringing you love, empowering you, reminding you what a magnificent being of light you truly, truly are. No matter what's happening, we are all moving to love, because we are love. Okay, well, I send you my love, and I'll see you soon. Woo! Oh, I think it's still recording. Oh, I think you might be recording. Wow.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God. Okay.
That's how I edit. That's how I edit. Maybe it stopped.
Okay, so let's be careful because I think because I'm such a boo on it. That was so much fun. I loved it. Did you love it?
Listen, when I got chills when I got excited. I got so excited when you recognized this because
Holy
this is
God.
10 episodes. This is 10 episodes of a conversation.
Oh my God.
How do they not put this in children's laps to learn that their emotions have an effect on the world?
Well, we know because the world is run by fucktards. That's why, who are all trying to keep this technology. Well, it's true. It's true. Joe, I'm really worried that we're still recording. So I think we should be careful. But no, but because it looks like it is, but I turned it off, but something's still recording. So when we were trying to get you to record, maybe it did record your end. I don't know. But rather than take a gamble and fuck up and get my bloody channel removed by the bastards that think they rule the world, let's say goodbye in lots of love right now. I'm going to check it, then I'm going to upload it, and then I will try and do a WeTransfer to you, but it will be up tonight for sure.
Okay. So did you do that live? Was there a live chat going on down there or no?
Well, what happens is when it goes, let's say I put it out at 6, let's see what the time is right now. It is, I can't even see, 4, it's 4:03. Oh, 4:03 Central. What time did we start? 2 something, wasn't it? Oh, that's probably like an hour and a half. Yeah. So what will happen when it goes on my channel, and then I had to set it up as a premiere, because then what happens when people jump on and then they can get involved, you know, they get into the chat. And then, yeah, that's how that works. I think
so. They're chatting amongst themselves. It's not something that you. I see.
Well, if we went live, but I don't trust BoobTube because they keep taking down my stuff. So I record first so I can own the content and you can own the content and then put it up. And if they're bitchy bastards and they take it down, I still have my own copy, you know, because I'm not playing that game. But
that's the game.
Yeah.
It's a game. Awesome. So I'm getting seriously, is this still recording? I'm getting a little record with the red.
Yeah,
so
it is recording. Oh God.
So
oh my God. I don't know how to edit. Okay, let's stop talking. Let's stop talking.
This is just bonus material. This is just bonus. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Knock.
Knock. The bonus. This is after the credits.
Oh my God.
This is after the credits. Okay. I'm going to try pushing stop video here and see what the hell happens. By the way, this is hilarious because I'm so bad at it. Okay, I'm going to hit stop video and see what happens. Okay.
You're a thickie like me. Oh.
Nope, I hit start video.
Jeff Burr. Do you know what happened? When I put your name in my phone, I accidentally came out Jeff Butt. I don't even know how that happened.
That's hilarious. I know.
No, it's still...
Should we just leave?
Yes, we need to leave.
I'm just going to leave. I'm going to leave.
Okay.
I'm going to leave. I'll talk to you later.
All right, darling. Lots of love. Okay, bye. Bye.